All right. Good morning. This is George Donnelly, and I'm going to be talking to you about building adoption in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. Um, so, a lot of times people are focused on holding. You know, the big deal is hodl, just hodl. But I think really in 2020 we need to change gears. We need to focus on building, BUIDLing, right? Um, so that's what I was doing a lot in 2018 and 2019. I was working with Dash, and we built a team, recruited, trained, paid, supported with funds from Dash. A team of about 80 people across 8 Latin American nations. We got about 1,200 active merchants, or we got about 1,300 merchants. We still had almost 1,200 at the end of it. I consider that I know a little something about merchant adoption for crypto. My team probably know more than I do. Because how I got started was around May or June of 2018. I and one other guy that I hired, we went out and we just started knocking on doors in Medellin, Colombia, which is where I've lived for quite a while. I really think that we need to focus on getting crypto adopted in the developing world. And the reason really is that you have to recognize that I'm just going to fiddle with my mics here. Make sure the things are muted. Okay, hopefully all the wrong mics are muted. Yeah, if there are comment, I think if you're watching, it's possible for you to leave a comment and for me to see it. You can just let me know, if you're hearing me or whatever. So yeah. So what was I saying? So yeah. I mean, I was knocking on doors. We were talking to people. Oh yeah, the developing world. Now, there's a really good book that represents a lot of the work of economist Hernando de Soto Polar, Peruvian economist, kind of from both the Chicago School and the Austrian School of Economics. And basically, he discovered this phenomenon, or maybe he didn't discover it, but he charted it out in more depth, the informal economy. The informal economy is huge. People talk about the unbanked, and they talk about bringing crypto to the unbanked as if it was a charity project. Okay, there's none of that in my approach. First of all, I talk about the informal economy, and that's because I think Hernando de Soto was really quite... thanks for that comment, Jer Harry Painter. I appreciate that. Basically, there is enormous wealth in the developing world, and there are maybe as many as 5 billion people in the informal economy. And the informal economy, for example, in Colombia, where I am, as recent as a couple of years ago, the surveys that they did showed that nearly 2/3 of jobs were in the informal economy. Places like Thailand, Nigeria have huge informal economies, and basically these people have this is most of humanity. These people have incredible wealth. They have property, they have assets, but they can't get it represented on a ledger that they can then leverage to get, it's like, for example, a classic example, a farmer in Peru. He has the land, he has possession of the land, but he can't get title to the land because of all the bureaucratic obstacles. And so he can't borrow money against it in order to buy seeds to plant it. And this is really the situation. And I think this is the primary reason why we need to adopt in the we need to get adoption first in the developing world. Yeah. So, people often talk. For example, here's this kind of frankly, a junky article that I came across just this morning. I think I got this through a crypto news app that I have, where I get price updates and stuff. So, this is so they're gonna put satellites into space to broadcast their blockchain, and this is gonna eliminate poverty, or at least extreme poverty, because everyone will have free Wi-Fi. Like, this is the this is the kind of passive attitude, like, oh, we just have to. It's also a very first world approach, like, oh, let's just give everybody free Wi-Fi and it'll be good. The problems in the developing world are more human and more structural. People in the first world, people have a rule of law for the most part, working ledgers. So like when you buy a house, like you do your title search, and then it's yours, and like it's very few exceptions to that. But in the developing world, it can take a long time and a lot of money to register a house, and a lot of people don't do it. Like, you go into a neighborhood. One of the examples from DeSoto's book was, you go into a neighborhood and in like Cairo, and you say, well, you look up officially who owns this house, and that gives you one answer. And then you go into the neighborhood and you see who's living there, and you ask the neighbors, and they give you a different answer. Everything is more human, less technological. So it's not. So that's why also I think that with crypto, we need to have like this whole focus on what is it? Compliance, right? KYC, AML. This is going to drive the ecosystem into a ditch, because in the developing world, the whole reason that all of these people, these billions of people, the great majority of humanity, are in this situation where they have this illiquid wealth, where they are struggling with little infrastructure, with inability to really have savings, to access bank accounts, is because an elite in their country designed a system that excludes them, that actively excludes them, that denies them bank accounts, that makes it expensive for them to access ledgers for their property and whatnot, capital, all this. So if we go to, say, the government in Peru and be like, hey, let's be pals, we'll abide by all your rules, just let us do our thing. Well, that's going to be the death of it, because they're just gonna eat it up, and then there's going to be nothing left. There's going to be no value left for the regular people. So this is a show that I aim to do daily. I'm going to first do it around 8 a.m. New York time in English on the BUIDL Daily channel on YouTube. And then around 9 o'clock, I'm going to be doing it in Spanish, a different show. It's I'm not going to say the same things. Under the YouTube channel BCA Bitcoin Cash Latam. I'm going to bring in news articles. If you would like to be a guest, I can bring you on via Skype. We can have a conversation. You don't have to be anybody particular. You don't have to have any kind of credentials or anything. The show is wide open. I want to talk with everybody. Like we could talk about the latest Bitcoin Cash news. You can, if you want to talk about my least favorite projects, we can do that too. If you want to talk about, lightning, whatever, we can talk about it all. Because the goal, even though I consider myself a big fan of Bitcoin Cash, I'm putting my effort into building Bitcoin Cash. We can talk about whatever you want. So I'm going to wrap up this show for today. This is just kind of an introduction. Hopefully I'll get better with using this Ecamm Live software. And see you again tomorrow.